Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of an interesting stream. We're going to do a little gaming, we're going to do a little just talking. We're going to do whatever the freak I want on my channel, so that's what's up with that. So let me go ahead and set my Apollo to probably social. If you don't know what Apollo is, look it up. It is freaking amazing. Crazy good. Alright, we're going to switch over here to social for 120 minutes. That shit's going to rattle my arm. We are also going to get Clash Royale ready. And we're going to open the phone. But what we're also going to do is, ooh, we got a card evolution. Okay, we're going to skip that for now. And I'm going to open my phone and actually share this. Alright. So what else we're doing is little Mormon Stories that starts in 13 minutes 20 seconds. We are going to do a live broadcast, and actually I need to change my stream info for branded content, so let me do that shortly. Okay, so we have branded content. This is my friend John DeLynn. I support this podcast. I'm going to load it behind. I'm going to try and load it behind. We should be able to do that, right? Let's see what we can do. This is kind of really new information. So the CES letter is quite confrontational to the LDS Church. We're going to just kind of put that there. So this will be an interesting episode. We have 12 minutes, 18 seconds until start time. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to drop a post to my friend John DeLynn. Let him know that I'm streaming live and doing Alright, got that done. Let's go ahead and get started. What should I start with? Should I do some... Should I do a little 2v2 to start out with? I need to get all of my stuff I gotta claim. Holy crap, I got a lot. So John DeLynn is somebody who used to be a member of the LDS Church, as did I. He was excommunicated. I actually had my name removed from the record of the church. This is in support of John DeLynn's mission. Actually, what I'm gonna do is switch over and repost this, because I want people to see it. Alright, let's go. All you people have been like tweeting me on X and messaging me on X and stuff. This is where I roll. This is my spot. Like, if you want to talk to me, this is where you can talk to me. And we'll go ahead and do the 12-hour, and ooh, we got free. Okay. Oh, looks like natural life is full, whatever. I don't care about that. Cards. We'll go with the little peeper thing, and we are. Oop. Let me see what deck I'm on. Yeah, we'll go with this deck. All right, here we go. Goodbye, princess. Okay, I guess you can fireball that. Oh, caught them with their pants down. There we go. Nice. Alright, hopefully this isn't a beat down deck because that could have just hurt. That's good. I love this deck, man. It has so much utility. It's got your mini P.E.K.K.A for like the heavy hitters. It's got your Hog. It's got your, I mean, for 2v2, like, Rage is just so good. If you play it at the right times, it's so good. Oh shit, I gotta put this in. Ooh, he's rocking Graveyard Giant. Okay, old school player. We're gonna have to get a really good push going here. That's a good push. Oh, he's gonna have Bushman on? That's who he's having on? Oh my gosh, this is a freaking Bushman episode? Dude, you guys are in for a treat. Wow. Okay. This is huge. $14 minutes. Are you kidding me? We got top. We got. Are you kidding me? We got Bushman Answering the CES letter? Wow. Yeah. Get wrecked. Oh, we made contact. Let's go. Hit her. We got half a hit. One full hit.
Magic.
Power down. Let's go. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and jump into another one. Yeah, this podcast is going to be legendary. Kidding me? Richard Bushman? Rustin Rolling. Read that about like 15 years ago. One of the major LDS defenders. Him under the conversion belt. Bowler. I like bowlers. Really good on defense. 7 minutes, 30 seconds.
Excuse me, don't you know who I am?
That will do it. I can't wait to see this episode. Oh my gosh. I'm like really excited about this. Richard Bushman and the CES letter. I gotta hear this.
Bold and bashful.
3 elixir for 6 elixir, potentially 6 elixir. I don't think it's that horrible. We didn't both need to lay down a troop there. That's a pretty good answer, actually.
Don't call me a primitive.
One tower down. Just gonna play defense. We got a Royal Giant. Play him in the back. Full push. Like this guy's death. Double freaking range. Yep, right. Alright, last game, and then we're going to switch over. Alright. Let's play again. Play one more game. Obviously, our decks have really good synergy. to start. We will make this our last game. Over to Mormon Stories. Just gonna go full screen mode and that should work. Alright, let's go. You can find this on Mormon Stories on YouTube. You can read the CES letter at, I believe it's cesletter.com. It is probably in the description here. But if not, I think it's cesletter.com or dot something, .org maybe. Got some good news today. Well, semi-good news, but looks like the company is off to a good start. So, super excited about that. financially, it looks like we're backed. I did not hear back from my gentleman that was going to contact me. So not sure what's up with that, but just realized that I did not hear back. It's all right. I got my I get Fidelity help me out. Hey everybody. Guess I should join the chat. Co-streaming live. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mormon Stories podcast. I'm your host, John DeLynn. It is August 28th, 2024, 4:19 p.m. We're broadcasting live today from the Mormon Stories studios, somewhere in a undisclosed hidden bunker in somewhere in Utah or in the Mountain West. Is that clandestine enough, y'all?
Yes,
Okay.
good.
Is that good? We're joined by the Queen. And when I say
Holy
the Queen,
crap.
I mean Sandra Tanner. Hey, Sandra.
Hi.
Are you kidding
And
me?
by the King, Gerardo Simano. Hey, Gerardo.
There we go.
John.
So this is a wide shot of the King and Queen. Somebody used to make a meme with the crowns on their head. But we're here today to
Nice.
talk about the thumbnail is Top Mormon Historian Admits Issues Raised in CES Letter. And it's a really fascinating story. Basically, recently, the CES Letter and Jeremy Reynolds have been under attack. Again, we have to assume he's under attack because, like Sandra, he's been so successful. Do they come after successful people, Sandra? Do they come after people that are effective in
It
moving
seems
the
that
needle?
way.
So they're coming after
They don't
Jeremy
like
full
that.
force. We're going to talk about it today. And interestingly, they brought on Richard Bushman, Dr. Richard Bushman, Columbia emeritus professor, former stake president, former patriarch. They brought him on, world's most renowned Joseph Smith scholar. They brought him on an anti-CES letter YouTube channel to comment on the CES letter. And to all of our amazement,
Oh,
I mean, our interpretation was that he pretty much validated most of what Jeremy writes in the CES letter. You're laughing, Gerardo.
oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I mean, he did, but I mean, some interesting arguments here and there that we're going to be discussing. But
But we'll let you be the judge.
Holy cow.
So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Wow.
We also have not in studio, we have joining us remotely from an undisclosed satellite location in a bunker somewhere in the Midwest. We have Julia. Hey, Julia.
Hi. Here.
Thanks for
Hi.
joining us.
Yeah, of course.
And Julia has been helping us with the LDS discussion series. She's our resident historian. Sandra, you're sort of our emeritus.
Retired.
Emeritus.
Yeah.
Your Mormon Stories is emeritus historian. And Julia sits in the Sandra Tanner chair
Oh, well, good.
of history for Mormon Stories podcast.
Glad to pass the wand on.
Are you okay with that characterization, Julia?
I don't think I could ever take Sandra's place. So I don't know.
Well, it's an endowed chair
Aw.
There you go.
in her name. I think we started pretty silly. Okay, let's get more serious. Anyway, we welcome our live audience. Maven is gracious enough to join us in the live chats. She's going to star
Good pick up
any
on the,
questions or comments that she thinks we should pay attention to.
actual body
She's going to
language of
ban all
Sandra.
the baddies. And please share. Please feel free to make your comments on YouTube with super chat donations. That'll make sure your question or
You
comment
guys
gets read.
all support
And then
Mormon
finally,
Stories.
we want to
They're an
thank all the
awesome
Mormon Stories
organization.
donors that make all this possible. But also, we want to make a call for people to apply to be on Mormon Stories. So we have a new website. Gerardo was instrumental, along with my friend Dave, in designing it and
Oh, nice.
upgrading the website. And we have a new application process for people who want to be on Mormon Stories. And we're looking for certain types of interviews for the next couple months. We're looking for anyone who wants to share kind of a young single adult dating experience, and what that's like to try and date Mormons in the modern age, preferably someone in their 20s to early 30s, and someone who's willing to just be candid about the dating experience. That's the YSA panel that we hope to do. We've got a couple people for that. We're looking for people, if anybody wants to be a part of a panel on infertility, we're looking for one or two more people to be on that. And then we're looking for grandparents. We're looking for people who experienced a faith crisis later in their life as grandparents in their golden years, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, even their 80s. And we would love to interview some couples who are grandparents who experienced their faith crisis at that point. And then we're always interested in just people who are superstar Mormons. And what I mean by that is they were in it to win it, kind of Leah and Cody Young, Donna Showalter types, former bishops, former Relief Society presidents, just people who are really intensely, devoutly Mormon. We're always looking for those types of stories. If you fit any of those, or if you just have a really cool story that you want to tell, go to mormonstories.org and apply to be on the show. We would love to have you. Okay, that's enough business. Now, Gerardo, I think you're kind of leading us in today's episode. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, along
right.
with Julia, we both together worked on this, on putting together the clips that we're going to show. I think you wanted to cover a little bit of the background of what's been going on with the CS letter. I did wanted to say that it seems like this YouTube channel is an independent organization. As far as I could tell, this morning I was trying to do some research on it. They don't seem to be associated with, one of the organizations that we know most, like More Good and Book of Mormon Central and others.
But aren't they all funded by shadow nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, we can never know. What's interesting, there's no way to donate on their website, but I did think it was a really different approach than some of the slides you're going to share by Meridian. Like their website, the way they talk about Jeremy is as if he was a sincere believer, who was actually having questions, and even the way that Bushman talks about him and the host are pretty respectful towards Jeremy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very different tone from these other attacks, but it is kind of interesting that it's all coming at once, right?
I
now.
feel very confident that the CES letters, and so that's one of the things I guess we should just talk about. The organization is calling itself CES letters,
Yeah.
plural. I would imagine Jeremy Reynolds would have something to say about the fact that they're basically taking
CS
the
letter.
branding.
his branding and exploiting it for SEO purposes. Maybe he'll have more to say about that. But
Yeah.
it's called CES letters. And my sense is it's a coordinated effort, because why would all of these different independent publications basically be promoting
Yeah.
it all at the same time?
Yeah.
Possible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So do you want me to do
Yeah.
these first couple slides, or
Sure.
do you want to
Yeah.
or do
Yeah.
you want to do it? Okay. Is that you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So y'all will be familiar with Meridian Magazine. Meridian Magazine has been sort of an online web zine for many, many years, that defends the church, does faith promoting stuff, but also attacks critics of the church. Maureen Proctor is one of the leaders of Meridian Magazine. And so here is a new article by Maureen Proctor, and it's entitled "Unveiling the Truth:
Ooh, we're
The
screen
Real
sharing now.
Story Behind
Go,
the CES
John.
Letter." Does that look like an AI generated photo, Gerardo?
Yes.
It does. I mean, unless it's an actor. What do you think, Julia? Is that an AI?
I think it's absolutely AI.
Okay. And how would you describe that, Julia? That photo?
This It's a man. He's like he looks like a Hugh Jackman type with glasses, and he's like really, really he's trying to look into this book, like trying to think about stuff.
He's got like a furrowed brow, but he's a beard. So Sandra, what do we think about people with beards?
Oh, they aren't faithful.
Oh.
So he's got a beard and he's got a furrowed brow, and so Maureen Proctor is going to unveil the truth, the real story behind the CES letter. Another one is Public Square magazine. As I understand it, this publication may have been started in coordination with Ralph Hancock, an old professor of mine. Anyway, the article in Public Square is entitled "The True Origins of the CES Letter." This one, it says C.D. Cunningham. I don't know who that is. And then also research by Michael, does that say Peterson, Julia?
Yeah, that looks like
In
Peterson.
Published Peace. And then the next one is again Published Peace. And it says, were these ever the sincere questions of an earnest truth seeker? And it's written by Michael Peterson and Jacob Hess. Now, Jacob Hess is a name that we've covered on Mormon Stories podcast before. Gerardo, do you remember covering Jacob Hess?
I was not on the episode, but you covered it with Kara. I think you did a response to one of his videos.
Yeah.
Apologetics.
Yeah. Yep. And I see him as, I think he's almost inheriting the mantle of Daniel Peterson, not as a legitimate scholar. I think he has a PhD in some family focused, family studies kind of PhD. I don't think it's clinical or counseling psychology, but somewhere in Indiana, I think. And I think he writes for the Deseret News now. He's actually one of the writers on the Deseret News. Sandra, is it fair to call the Deseret News a propaganda newspaper for the church these days, or is that unfair?
Absolutely.
Well, from an apostate point of view, I would think that sounded fair.
Julia, does that seem fair to you, or?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Okay. All right. So Jacob, of course, now writes with them. You know who else writes? There's another former, do you remember the kind of BYU female, Hannah no,
Oh wait, who?
she used to work
Oh,
Book of Abraham stuff.
Oh my gosh, what's her name?
You have to look it up.
Dixon, Everett, Judd. I don't know. I'm
I
just
can't
listing out people
remember.
from
I can't
BYU.
You know what I'm talking
Redhead.
about. She was doing articles with Brian Hauglid about Book of Abraham. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You look it up. Just a recent faith writer for Deseret News Religion. She's writing for them, and Jacob Hess. So they're really going apologetic with the Deseret News. Anyway, this article really goes after Jeremy, and we're just going to share the bullets of basically the allegations they're making. That basically, Jeremy was an adversarial church bashing person long before the CES letter was written. The whole purpose of this is to smear Jeremy's reputation. It's basic poison the well ad hominem. The CS letter, based on Sandra's good work, is, I'm sure, harming the church. And so what are they going to do, Sandra? If you don't have good arguments, what do you do?
Fight.
You do spin.
And you attack the author, right?
Yes.
You attack the author.
Hannah Syriac.
Hannah
And I
Syriac.
believe she was doing stuff with John Gee. No,
Okay,
I
yeah,
think if
okay.
she had done with Brian Hogley, she would have come the other way.
Yeah. So Hannah Syriac and Jacob Hess are writing for the Deseret News. Who knew? Anyway, we wish them well. So here's some of the examples of how they're poisoning the well with Jeremy. That he was adversarial church bashing before the letter was written, that he was disinterested in available and established channels for member questions. Yes, if he had just gone to the right channels, he could have got all the right answers, right, Sandra?
Well, yes, if it got to the right ones.
And pray tell, which are the right channels to get the right answers?
Just anything except those put out by BYU.
I mean, what do you think they mean? The gospel topic essays? I mean,
Had they come out?
I don't even know.
His
No,
book
No, there wasn't anything
no, they
like
weren't out
that.
yet. They weren't out yet.
Where would he have turned?
I mean, Farms, Maxwell Institute, Fair Mormon. But that's all garbage. We all know that stuff's garbage.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I mean, it's evident that it's not working, right? That's why they keep attacking it.
exactly. It's just not. It's not, and that's why so many people are leaving the church, is
Right.
because Fair Mormon, Maxwell Institute, they're not. And Farms is gone. So I mean,
Yeah.
where was Jeremy supposed to turn anyway? 3, seeking feedback from church antagonists prior to publication. I wonder who he means
Oh
by.
dear. Oh no.
Is that you? Did Jeremy
I
ever
think
meet with you?
I think he read our Shadow of Reality.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that I was in touch much with Jeremy before CES letter, so I don't know. Reddit, I think he means the ex-Mormon Reddit. For public statements revealing a much broader intended audience. So they're basically saying he was always intending the CES letter to be published to the world to embarrass the church.
Well, if you are somewhat, I mean, I think he acknowledges from the letter at the beginning, because I read it just a few weeks ago, that he already is not a believer, and that really doesn't matter if the CS director responds or whatever he tells him, because he already kind of decided that there's not really good answers, but he's still open. So I don't know. They're trying to portray him as like
Oh
he
my
was still
gosh.
believing when he wrote the letter. With that's not what Jeremy has ever tried to portray from what I read.
But this is the same tack they were using when Gerald and I started questioning back in 1959. We were listening to the enemies of the church. I was listening to Gerald. I mean, it was just, it passed the buck. Everything was because we listened to somebody else.
You listen to Fawn Brody.
Yes, we read apostate literature. So, of course, we were having problems. And I went into my bishop about this, and the guy he brings in to be the big answer man, he says, well, if you'll just read Joseph Fielding Smith's books, Answers to Gospel Questions and Doctrines of Salvation, it will solve all these things. The game hasn't changed.
It has not changed.
It's just the people that are writing the material has changed,
Yeah.
but the arguments haven't changed.
No, I'm so glad you're here.
And what I was gonna say also, if I'm gonna write a letter to a CS director, take all the time to gather all the answers, of course I'm gonna want to publish whatever his response is gonna be.
Yeah, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. All right, really quickly. 5 is textual similarities mirroring other published dissidents. Again, I'm sure they're probably do you think the CS letter borrowed from your work?
Oh, I
Sandra?
think Jeremy acknowledges that he read our Mormonism Shadow of Reality
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
that it was part of his process of figuring out the real story.
Yeah.
We look to Fawn Brody. I mean, yes, each of us builds on those that have gone before, but it's because the evidence is there. It isn't just that we're just mimicking the guy before. It's that we read the guy before and checked out the references. It's that, well, that makes sense. Yes, this is the real story.
Yeah. Like why wouldn't, where else are you gonna go? Like if you want an honest, if Jeremy, let's just say it's 2012 and Jeremy wants the truth about Mormonism, where else is he gonna go but Mormon Think, Sandra Tanner, Shadow and Reality, Fawn Brody, Mormon Stories?
Yep.
Where else is he gonna go?
Plus, why does it matter? Why does any of this matter?
Yeah.
If the questions are valid.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, the Gospel Topics essays were created. Why? Because whatever the church was putting out was inadequate.
Right.
Am I wrong?
Right. Well, I mean, you got the problem starts back with Joseph Smith. The neighbors all said he was involved in magic.
Yeah.
And everyone's just been pointing that out ever since. And the church just, like Bushman, they want to downplay what the neighbors said.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just because I tell you what the neighbors said doesn't invalidate the fact that's what the neighbors were saying about the origins of Mormonism. It all
Absolutely.
came out of magic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Julie, you jump in anytime you want. All right.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks to Jake for the super chat. Those are really helpful. Okay. We'll just quickly do some of the others. He took a hostile and disparaging tone in the original essay. In other words, you're not allowed to be angry. If you're upset, if you're angry, if you feel betrayed, you have to hide that because anger is an illegitimate emotion that I guess apparently disqualifies you.
Disqualifies their questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Or the facts.
I mean,
Yeah, you just found out that the fellow that sold you all those stocks was not really buying anything with that money, but he bought a Cadillac, and you sound hostile when you find this out and go to question him about it. You just have a bad attitude.
I mean, honestly, being angry shows he was sincere. Like if he wasn't angry and he was just all calm, and then it would show that he didn't really passionately
care about it.
care about it,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
right.
And if you watch his Mormon Stories interview, it's really obvious Jeremy cared and tried and believed. Anyway, it's so dumb. 7, immediately promoting and personally disseminating the letter online. Like, yeah, the
How you
church
gonna get
with
it out?
80,000 missionaries, and how many missionary couples are criticizing people for like evangelizing or publishing?
Yes. Who has the biggest publishing outfit?
Right.
Yeah. Somehow publishing is a bad thing.
I guess.
Okay, disparaging attitudes and manipulative actions towards church leaders. So he's mad at church leaders. I guess that's inappropriate. Discrediting extensive and ongoing branding expansion efforts over subsequent years. So the fact that he improved the CES letter, created a website, even he actually made a new version to improve the tone, take out things that were inaccurate and that sounded too angry or hostile. And so they want it both ways. They want to criticize him for being angry, but when he improves it to make it less angry, they're going to say that he made edits over time. Does that seem weird?
Well, they've made edits on theirs over time. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
There you go.
They stopped dating the edits on the Gospel Topics essays. They changed them so much. I hear they put out new Gospel Topics essays just this week. Did y'all hear
What?
that?
I heard
Yeah.
something about it, but I haven't checked it out.
Yeah, there's like 4 new essays, so we need
Oh,
to get on
dang.
that. LDS discussions, Julie, we need to get on that.
Yes.
All right, last one is malicious personal attacks upon many who
Oh.
dared to disagree.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
they're getting on Jeremy
Malicious.
for malicious personal attacks. What is this whole article? Like, are these people like? Are these serious? Are these
Yeah.
people serious?
Very bad.
They're
This is
getting
too
after
good.
Jeremy for personal attacks with
Personal attack.
his personal attack. These people are not serious.
Yeah.
These are not serious people. Okay. So anyway, I want to give a personal message. Julie, I want you to make this an Instagram and a TikTok clip. And I want you to tag Jacob Hess, Hannah Syriac, CES Letters, and Maureen Proctor of Meridian Magazine. Okay. We are doing this episode, and I will continue to do episodes promoting the CES letter. We haven't talked about the CES letter as a feature in a long time on Mormon Stories, all right? But because you have chosen Jacob Hess, Maureen Proctor, all you people, because you've chosen to go after Jeremy and attack his character, I'm going to dedicate many, 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 many episodes on Mormon Stories to the CES
Preach it,
letter
John.
until you take down your disparaging attacks on Jeremy Runnels. So just know you are Jeremy's best friend in promoting the CES letter as long as you continue these attacks. Mark my words, we are going to do a deep dive into the CES letter over the next 12 months. Thanks to you with our subscriber base of 250,000 people. Thank you, Jacob Hess. You're doing the Lord's work. Okay. Without any further ado, Gerardo, take it
Oh,
away.
go John.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Woo.
let's dive in. So I think you already gave a little bit of an introduction of this channel and website CS letters. Do you want to put?
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So here it is.
So that's the website?
Yeah. Another reason why I don't think it's associated with More Good is the branding looks a little bit homemade, and
Yeah, it
More
looks
Good
really
when they do
cheap.
things, they do things by the hundreds of thousands of
But
dollars.
why would you even want to
I don't know.
create that appearance, that connection isn't there?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I tried to research it hard, and it just seems a little bit
So far.
smaller. But I don't know.
All right.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, that slide is the YouTube channel. So they have like less than 400 people. So
Yeah.
They're about to have a few more.
Yes. And so they have a few videos where they're responding or, in a faithful way to certain aspects of the CS letter. So for the section on the translation of the Book of Mormon regarding the seer stone and how the Book of Mormon was translated, they brought Richard Bushman, who is an expert in Joseph Smith. And I think there's you and Sandra have an expertise on who Richard Bushman is. And do you want to talk about it?
Oh, Sandra, do you, or do you want me to?
Well, he's written numerous books on the early Joseph Smith period since back in he was in
92.
writing in 1980s forward. I don't remember when he first started writing on Mormon issues, but he's been out there for 40, 50 years at least.
Actually, let me just say what I do know. When Leonard Arrington was church historian,
Yeah,
he was commissioned to do like a 10-volume series on the church history
right,
with like a book for every 10 years of the
right.
church's history
Wow.
for the maybe 15 for the sesquicentennial.
Yes.
Would that have been
Yeah,
150?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. And so Richard Bushman was asked to write the book on the beginning years of Joseph Smith's life.
Mm.
And so he wrote the book Joseph Smith and the Beginnings of Early Mormonism, which for me was one of the most damaging books to my faith back in 2000, 2001, because I had read
Yeah.
Fawn Brody, but in my mind, it's like, well, she's an apostate, so I'm going to hold everything she says with a grain of salt. But then when I read Joseph Smith and the Beginnings of Early Mormonism, and as a patriarch and as a stake president, and he may not have been a patriarch back then, but I think he was a stake president, but as a faithful, eminent Mormon historian, he was validating all the same stuff that Fawn Brody, wrote in No Man Knows My History. That was actually more devastating to my testimony
Right.
than Fawn Brody was. So anyway, that's
then
how he
came
got his
John
start. And then
Glenn.
my understanding is he just imported Joseph Smith and the Beginnings of Early Mormonism into Rough Stone Rolling. That was the first several chapters, was like an update and a rewrite of that original book. And then he continued and wrote about the rest of his life in Rough Stone Rolling.
Right. And in Rough Stone Rolling, you will find that he references Fawn Brody's book
Oh,
in
so
the
they're not gonna
footnotes
have
all the way
Richard Bushman
through.
here.
He
He's gonna talk
validates
about it.
many of the things that Brody brings out. He just wants to give a softer landing to what you conclude from it. So, yes, the Smiths were involved in magic. Yes, they were involved in money digging. Yes, there's different accounts of the first vision.
History said he did a
Keep going, sorry.
And so he admits all these things, but he wants to soften it by fuzzying the conclusions to make it palatable to you. But it's still, I think, a very disturbing story when you admit that he's using a rock in the hat. How do you make that sound reasonable in today's world? So even though he wants to say it's reasonable, obviously many Mormons today are struggling with even the soft version of admitting Joseph's magic and money digging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I'm just going to show the YouTube channel, and they've got, Stephen Harper talking about the priesthood restoration. They've got Brian Hales talking about polygamy. So they've got all the,
Yeah. Main
apologists. They've got Stephen Smoot talking about the Book of Abraham. So, they're going to be getting the best and the brightest. I anticipate that this is good. And everyone is trying to just go at the CES letter for specific subjects.
Yeah.
And undermine it.
Well, what's so shocking though is about Richard Bushman, in my view, acknowledging a lot of this. I mean, just like Sandra said, he does the same thing in the video as he did on his book Rough Stone Rolling, admitting of all these things that can be problematic, but then trying to soften them. And that's what I think would be really interesting for us to try to respond to his arguments as to why you should come out of it as a believer, even though it's really kind of shocking.
So that's what we're going to be doing today, is responding to Richard Bushman's interview on the CES Letters YouTube channel, and this is just part one of a multi-part series. Now, Jacob Hess,
so
if you go to Maureen and all these people and shut all this down and stop cheating Jeremy and using his name, smearing him, violating his trademark or whatever it is, his brand, and attacking the person, then maybe I'll stop this series. But until then, I'm going to do it. Here's the slide that they put together on Richard Bushman. 3 of his books. We already mentioned Rough Stone Rolling. There's also a new book called Joseph Smith's Gold Plates. And then there's one called Believing History. Joseph Smith, The Beginnings of Early Mormonism. It's there. So we're going to just dive in, right? And start responding.
Yeah.
And we have Sandra here, along with Julia and Gerardo, to provide their reactions. Now, Sandra, how many times have you watched this video?
Oh, at least 4 times.
Wow.
Maybe 5.
You're prepared.
I don't know, but I've listened.
All
Love
right.
that.
Well, we're really excited for your reactions. And Julia, you jump right in, okay?
Sure.
Okay. And who's this dude? Who's this guy?
So this is the host. This is the guy that hosts the YouTube channel. His name is Easton. I don't know his last name. I don't think he's the of this essay or in this video. He doesn't say his last name, so I don't know if other viewers or other people would know. But it's Easton, and I don't know anything about him. I couldn't find anything
All
in
right.
their about
So,
page. So.
I mean, just the fact that he's getting Richard Bushman shows that he's got endorsements from the church.
Right.
But
Right?
yeah, I don't think he's the owner of it.
I mean, if Smoot doesn't Smoot work for BYU at some level? Like,
I'm not sure.
these are the church's all-star
yeah,
apologists.
I mean, getting Richard Bushman is a big deal.
So yeah, so I am betting that the church money is behind this,
Yeah.
whether or
Right.
not it's
Oh, for sure.
more good directly. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's Easton. Is that his name?
So
I'll try and
works for
remember that.
BYU.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump, and we'll just play the first clip, and then we'll have the panel react. And we hope you viewers and listeners will give your responses too, and we'll have Maven's been starring him, so we're in good shape. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
one
Gerardo.
thing.
Yeah.
I think another thing what I thought it was really important to cover this is because if you are someone who has family members who are still believing, which I think we all do, this is a really good episode. Even not ours, but the episode with Richard Bushman to send to them so they can learn about the true history of how the Book of Mormon was translated.
Wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying that it's a really good introduction for a believing member that has believed.
Oh, so Gerardo's recommending if you've got believing family and friends, and you don't want to send them the CES letter,
Right.
send them the CES letters, and that'll be a great
Yeah.
introduction to the CES letter
Yeah.
by showing them CES letters because hey, Richard Bushman's on it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And lots of BYU people and good things, so it's safe, right, Sandra?
Well, one would hope, I guess.
Let's look at it.
Really quick, thanks to Jake again for the super chat. Thanks to Cairo's Fury, and then I don't get this joke. The Sandy Stone writes CES letters is Stephen H's first presidency assignment. Do we know what Sandy Stone's talking about there, Julia? Any idea?
I don't. Stephen H.
Yeah. All right. Well, he'll have to tell us what he means in his joke. And we love Colby. So Colby writes, all due respect to Jeremy, but it's honestly kind of funny. The apologists
After-
are still coming after him for the CES letter.
After
mean,
11 years.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
because it's been
It's very
devastating
damaging.
to the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it is affecting a lot of people, or they wouldn't have all these responses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, attacks mean you're being successful in this church. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and roll the first clip.
Richard, as we get started, we're going to be talking all about the Book of Mormon translation. And I think that there's some important context to
He
give
looks so
before
Mormon.
we dive into the actual topic of what does the translation process look like. So I want to just kind of run through some of the dates
Here's an index ring.
and who is involved.
Two
So
index
Joseph
rings.
Smith has his first vision in 1820. He eventually receives the golden plates in 1827. Is that right? I think. After he receives the plates, he receives those in September of 1827. When does he begin the actual translation process, and who does he start the translation process with?
There's a little bit of dispute. The sources differ a little bit on it. The 1838 version of history said he did a little bit of translating shortly after he got the plates. So it'd be in the fall
Sure.
of 1827. And he took this, Martin Harris took that translation as well as the characters from the plates to Charles Anthon. The other sources say Joseph Smith was buffaloed by the problem of how to translate. And it wasn't until the winter after Martin Harris came back that he really began translating in earnest. So there's a little disjuncture there, which hasn't been explained. But the fact is that time when he sat down and the translation just flowed from him, and he sat there day after day, that begins in the winter of 1828.
Okay. And so
Okay. So what's interesting? I mean, the premise here is that Richard Bushman, by and large, admits whatever's in the book, whatever's in the CES letter. What's interesting about that clip? Anyone want to share, Gerardo?
Yeah, I mean, I could start,
Yeah.
but I'm sure.
Sandra, do you want to go first? Go ahead, Sandra.
Well, my thought was that this, for the Mormon, this implies that there was this short period of composing the book, and he's making it to this 28, 29 frame. But you have to understand that Joseph first started talking about the Book of Mormon in 1823. And so he's
Yeah.
had years to get his story
Capitulate.
practiced and put together mentally before he starts dictating it. So to me, the length of the dictation process is just the culmination of him writing his story. So
Right.
there, you have to understand that it wasn't something that just suddenly popped on the scene in just this very short time.
Got it.
Something I hadn't understood until recently is that and if you can put the other slide up, John, because Julia was gracious enough to put up all
The
the date
timeline.
and the timeline of what that's from the moment that Joseph started talking about the plates, and like Sandra said, it's he starts pretty early. He starts in September of 1823, and
Okay, so you want me to show that slide? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll show it right here. There you go.
And something I hadn't understood until recently is that he was not just telling stories. And I could get that wrong, and please, for anyone, if I'm wrong, just correct me on the comments. But my understanding recently from an interview that Dan Vogel did was that he was not just like sitting around and telling the stories to his family about
Right. He had
about the
stories
Indians
already.
in the area. He was actually telling the stories that he was channeling from the plates through the stone. So he was already kind of doing and practicing some kind of translation
Oh,
or
The
like
stone
channeling
attraction.
of whatever was on the plates as early as this date.
so he was storytelling with the stone,
Yeah.
not long before he ever got
Well,
to translate it. Is that what
And
you're
Julia,
saying?
do you
right.
want
I
to?
just want to say not only that. So if you read, you can go directly. You can go to archive.org and look up his mother's book, the life of Joseph Smith. I can't remember what it's called.
Lucy's book, whatever
Yeah,
it
Lucy
is.
Mack Smith's book.
Biographical sketches.
Right, exactly. And then so what she says is that Joseph Smith started telling stories in 1823 and told his family not to tell these stories to anyone else. What happened in what stories were told in the home stayed in the home, which I think is really interesting, especially if you think of Joseph as an author or a writer, to like not, he hasn't published his work yet. He doesn't want to share it. So like, that's how I think of it as, is that he doesn't want this to be
He's not
out there
ready.
yet because it hasn't
Like-
been published.
Like he's protecting the IP, and he doesn't want it to get out there.
That's kind of interesting, yeah. And anyway, I don't know. Just like when I mean, I knew that he had been telling the stories about the Indians early on. I just didn't know that he was like, that he was a little bit more developed, that to the fact that he was actually channeling the plates that were on
Yeah.
the hill.
Yeah.
Um,
And that speaks to how long he had
right.
to think up the narrative and the stories in the Book of Mormon in his mind. Is that right, Sandra?
Right. So he's rehearsing his story, not just entertaining the family. He's rehearsing his story of the whole Book of Mormon scenario.
Yeah.
7 years before
Yeah.
it ends up getting publishing,
Right.
which kills the 6 weeks or whatever.
They want to make it this short amount of time
60 days, I think.
that
right
he's
now.
just simply dictating the story.
Okay.
Richard Bushman is also leaving out the 116 pages, which we don't have, and we don't know how good or bad they were, which would have served as practice for if you believe that he was, making the story up.
He could.
So he did have some period of practice with Martin Harris before this period of where Richard Bushman says that he sat day after day with Emma and just dictating the place, because there's the 116 pages too.
Yeah. And
Right.
we've covered on LDS discussions, when the 116 pages gets lost, and then he sort of picks up at whatever book in the book is it
Mosiah.
Mosiah, where he picks up in Mosiah, finishes it, because it was clearly working from some basic text and set of stories,
Mhm.
and then he has to go back and
It's
start over
very
and replace the
evangelistic.
beginning. Right.
Right.
Was there anything else we want to say about this slide, this timeline?
Well, if we show the other clip, it kind of supplements this this slide as well. Do you want to just play?
Oh,
Yeah.
the second clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play that right now. Here we go.
Translation process starts. How long does that translation process take? When is he finally finished translating the Book of Mormon?
He finally finishes in the summer of 1828. So he did it in spurts with Martin Harris up through June of 1827, then a hiatus, then through the fall and winter, probably doing some translation with Emma. Oliver Cowdery arrives in the spring of 1820. Where am I? 1829,
Where am I?
and then
Oh
they
my
finish
gosh,
it up by
yeah.
June
Okay.
of
Yeah,
1829.
they just
Very-
wrap it up real quick.
All right, Sandra, the reactions.
Well, like I said before, that's just when he's giving the final telling of his story, but it's not the limited time that he has to create it.
Right. Right.
All right.
We're also
Probably gonna
seeing
have to cut
I
this
mean, something
short.
that's really interesting of
She's
the
got family stuff.
work that Dan Vogel has
Um,
done is
check out the
looking
rest of
at
this video.
what
That's
Joseph Smith
serious
was
stuff. This is
translating
your
during that
life
period
stuff.
and looking at what was happening in his surroundings.